With regard to child support, you mentioned some Kentucky guidelines. Elaborate on that a little bit for me.
There is the Uniform Child Support Act, which Kentucky adopted, and for parties who, again, choose, because you can contract to not pay child support, to waive it for whatever reason, in certain circumstances, and I'll get to that later. But the guidelines they presume about 76% of the time with the custodial parent and about 24% of the time with the non-custodial parent, which again has shifted, but the names have remained the same because the custodial, non-custodial parent throws parties off in the first place, and hopefully we'll get to the point where that changes a little bit too on the forms. But the calculation itself looks at gross income. We are a gross income child support calculation state where we put the two parties' incomes in, and the rest of the sheet gets down. You input what how many children there are, and the guidelines presume an amount of monthly child support to be paid from that non-custodial to the custodial parent, which again is not even necessarily the time share. So if the time share is greater than the 76% and 24%, we at one time had a calculation where you could figure out the deviation, which is a mathematical calculation, where you could figure out the deviation so that it took into account that when one party's time increased and the other party's time decreased, that the party paying the child support, that their amount decreased along with the amount of time. So what we don't like to talk about is days for dollars, trading kids and time for dollars, but at the same time, without amending the statute or without amending the guidelines, you had to account for time spent with the child. At some point, somebody went, why am I paying this money? Because I see this child this amount of time. So many deviations to the child support guidelines were created. And again, you can waive the guidelines. You can come to whatever amount of child support you choose to pay.
Okay.
But the deviation is in place if you can't make an agreement. And then the court has very wide discretion about how the court will make the deviation, either for the time or there is a number of factors in the statute that the court will look at.
So the guidelines are statutory creatures.
The guidelines are statutory. I think they're a default. There's certainly, if you go into a child support case, it's certainly what the county attorney uses. Anytime you make a motion for temporary support or for permanent support, you have to walk in with a child support calculation, which some get.